What if Pokemon evolved with new evolution methods? How a Pokemon evolves has a lot to do with what they evolve into. So in this video, I am going to be exploring some brand new evolution methods that Pokemon could introduce, and show off the kind of Pokemon we could get from them as well. To start things off, I think it would be super cool to get a cheat code evolution in a future game. What I mean by this is that a Pokemon with this evolution method would evolve after leveling up while the player also enters in or holds down a specific button combination, like a cheat code. It just feels like such a perfect fit that could also produce a really cool Pokemon at the same time. And my example of a cheat code evolution is Arcanum, an unknown evolution. I picked unknown as the basis here for a couple of different reasons. Number one is that with a cheat code evolution, it would give the games a chance to evolve Pokemon that wouldn't feel like they could ever evolve otherwise, because then the evolutions would feel kind of like you hacked or cheated the game, which is basically exactly what you're doing. Unknown fits that bill perfectly, and it also fits perfectly because it's obviously themed around letters of the alphabet, which the buttons on a controller are all covered with as well. So, say after leveling up your Unknown, you hold down A, B, X, and Y on your controller, which causes it to evolve into Arcanum. Well, holding down all of those lettered buttons is a perfect fit thematically, and this particular design is actually comprised of the same letters of Unknown that are used in that cheat code to get it to evolve. I also figure that in order to make more sense of this as a new evolution for an old Pokemon, that a new held item could be introduced as well that you would give to your Unknown, which would then enable the ability to use the cheat code after it levels up. Arcanum is also still a pure Psychic type Pokemon, and then the other weird thing when it comes to evolving Unknown is its name, because Unknown's name is literally just the word unknown. So what would the name of its evolution be? I went with Arcanum because it is a Latin word that essentially means mysterious, which falls in line with the Unknown. And in terms of the sound of its name, it also matches up with Arceus as well, which would help to further imply the connection between these Pokemon, and would hopefully enhance the lore a little bit as well. So that is one new evolution method that I would personally love to see someday, but there are also a lot more. One evolution method that has been around for a while is a friendship evolution. You basically maximize your Pokemon's friendship and level it up, and it will evolve. But what about an evolution where you minimize your Pokemon's friendship? Well, that might result in a Pokemon like Abyssy, a branched evolution of Chansey, who, instead of getting max friendship and evolving into Blissey, gets minimum friendship and evolves into this instead. First off, I picked Chansey as the subject here since essentially the whole line revolves around friendship and happy feelings, so the other direction of that felt like a good fit as a bit of contrast. It also becomes Dark type upon evolving thanks to that lack of friendship that has hardened its heart. One thing in particular that I also really love about this design too is the egg in its pouch that has become rotten as a result of its evolution, but is also meant to represent the Pokemon itself as a rotten egg, which felt like a really good double entendre that represents the Pokemon well. The name Abyssy also felt like a really natural fit too, as it is essentially a play on the name of its counterpart, Blissey, but with the word abyss entered into it, which is meant to describe the emotional abyss, if you will, that this Pokemon went through to evolve. If that sounds kind of intense, it's because it honestly kind of is, which is why I don't think this is something that we will see in reality anytime soon, because I don't think Game Freak wants to encourage anti-friendship with our Pokemon. It is still a really interesting concept though, so regardless, it is a lot of fun to explore. And something else that's also a lot of fun is the merch on my merch store. You may have seen it before, but it is really cool, and it helps out the channel a ton whenever you pick something up. The plushies are really cool. There's a Rgreywind and a Fakemon plush, and they're both super soft, squishy, and really high quality, and the Fakemon plush even comes with a limited edition Fakemon promo card as well. And speaking of cards, you can also get packs of them too, featuring some of the Fakemon from my videos, like Shrubberoost, Embit, and Rgreywind. It's super fun stuff and helps out the channel tremendously, so give it a look with the link in the description, and thanks a ton to everyone who has ordered something so far. This next one is one that I personally have had the idea for a while, and it is something that I do genuinely think would be amazing to include in a game, and that is shiny evolutions. Basically, the idea for this is that some Pokemon would gain completely new evolutions that they would evolve into, but only if they were shiny. I decided to go ahead and illustrate this concept with Wooloo, since I thought that working with a black shiny would result in a really cool looking new evolution. So with that said, if you had a normal Wooloo on your hands, you would of course end up with a Dubwool once it evolved. But if you had a shiny Wooloo, it would evolve into Woolazar. On top of just kind of wanting to work with a black shiny for fun, Wooloo is also a great fit for this concept specifically because its shiny is based on a black sheep, a phrase which refers to someone who is weird or atypical compared to the rest of their group. So a quote-unquote black sheep evolving into a completely different new Pokemon actually makes a ton of sense, and so that is what Woolazar is based around. It's a normal dark type to put some more emphasis on the black sheep idea, and its name also emphasizes this too, as it comes from wool and bizarre. It's also based on the Hebridean sheep, a rather unusual looking sheep that is black, so it fits the vibe, and is also from Scotland, so it would fit right in as an evolution to the Galar-based Wooloo. You would probably have to also include a held item for this evolution to work too, so that the shiny of the Pokemon's other evolution, in this case Dubwool, was also still accessible, but that is obviously something that would not be hard at all to work around, and overall, I just think this is a super cool way of growing and building upon the concept of shiny Pokemon while also introducing a really cool new evolution method. Next up is something that is both a new evolution method and not at the same time. Naturally, evolution by leveling up is the most basic form of evolution that there is, but you know what we haven't seen? A Pokemon evolving at level 100. With 100 being the highest level that you can achieve in a Pokemon game, it would be kind of amazing to see a Pokemon get an evolution at that level, as sort of a reward for training your Pokemon up to this point. And the Pokemon I chose to give this evolution to is Wishiwashi. Wishiwashi is one of the weakest Pokemon of all time, but if you stuck with it all the way to level 100, you would be rewarded with its evolution, Winniwashi. Now, if this evolution looks slightly familiar, that's because it should be, because Winniwashi is actually based on the school form of Wishiwashi, and the concept behind it is that when Wishiwashi gather into their school form, they are actually imitating a Winniwashi. So basically, Winniwashi is a permanent version of the school form Wishiwashi, and along with this, it also has the same stats of a school form Wishiwashi, but now they are permanent, so you don't ever have to worry about it reverting into a weaker Pokemon. While the designs are admittedly similar to one another, I feel like this does work really well because one of the criticisms of this evolution method would inevitably be that having a Pokemon evolve at level 100 means that you would never get to use or hardly see the evolution. But this way, you kinda still get to with the school form of Wishiwashi, while also having the fun of a level 100 evolution at the same time. Plus, another fun part about Winniwashi is that since Wishiwashi's schooling ability would essentially be useless upon it evolving, Winniwashi would gain a new ability that would basically still be the schooling ability, but tailored to it instead. And its effect would be that if Winniwashi's HP drops to 25% or lower, 2 other Winniwashi will come to its aid. Kinda similar to what we see with the school form Wishiwashi. And this would raise Winniwashi's base stats another 100 points, for an absolutely massive 720 base stat total. So all in all, I think this concept is pretty neat, and honestly, just for the sake of having new Pokemon to discover that are really out of the way and harder to obtain, I think having a level 100 evolution would be a lot of fun. When talking about new evolution methods, there is one idea that stands out as probably the most popular, and that is leveling up while fainting. People always mention this as a cool way that Eevee could evolve into a ghost type, for instance, and rightfully so, but pretty much any Pokemon could take advantage of a feint-induced evolution. So this time, I decided to try it out with Noibat. If you level up Noibat, but then it faints in the same battle, it will cause it to evolve into Noivire. Noivire is a ghost dragon type that is based on a vampire bat, which is why I decided to try this out with Noibat in the first place, because I thought it sounded like a cool idea. That is also where its name comes from as well, so overall I just feel like the Feint Evo concept works with Noibat pretty well. It could also work for just about any Pokemon, like I said though, which is part of the reason why it's such a cool idea. But this is unfortunately another one that I don't feel like Game Freak will ever go for, because I don't think they necessarily want to encourage the fainting of your Pokemon. I do think it would be super cool if it was included though, and I feel like it would be amazing to just see some new evolution methods along the lines of what I showed off in this video, even if it's not these same exact ones. Be sure to let me know which one of these is your favorite in the comments, and leave a like and be sure to subscribe as well. I'll be back with another video very soon too, and until then, as always, thanks so much for watching this one, I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.